Hi, guys. I am Lindsay Kuipers. I'm here today with Jessica DeMolder. She is Addalingua CTO, and she is the builder, creator, designer of Addi, our new AI-powered teaching partner. Thank you, Jessica, for your time today.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So, Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, the dual language immersion space is a space that's super important to me. Um, I am actually from France and moved to Germany as a teenager, so school in another language is very familiar to me. And then I moved to America, so again, school in another language, super familiar to me. And I have studied language, and my own kids go to DLI. So I've been a DLI mom for 11 years now. And because I've seen the space, know the space, have taught in this space, worked in this space, I really was hoping, to build a tool that really helps teachers in this space, because being a teacher is hard work, and teaching languages and helping students in that uncomfortable space, right? When you don't know the language, it's a difficult feeling, and a feeling I'm very familiar with. And so teachers are doing a lot of this emotional work on top of the, mental load. And so I was really excited to build out this tool to help DLI teachers with their workflow.
We're so grateful that you're at Addalingua and all the work that you've done to get this ready for teachers to use. So I have some questions today for Jessica about Addi, about how teachers are using her and how we created her to be your teaching partner for dual language immersion teachers. So first, Jessica, dual language immersion teachers using the Addalingua approach are constantly balancing content and language goals. How does Addi support that balance when planning instruction?
Yeah, and that was one of the big things that gave me the idea to develop a tool like Addy, because it is such a juggling act between focusing on language and then also having all the content and the content standards that you're trying to meet, and always adapting. So we wanted to build a tool that teachers could easily use. And now with AI, most of us are familiar how to use a chatbot, could use that tool to help them integrate language into the content more easily. So we've seen teachers, we've had, a few hundred conversations now with Addy, which is really exciting. Teachers asking, like, hey, I'm teaching this in science. How do I also connect what I'm teaching in language into my science? And then the tool will give them ideas, and they can go back and forth until the teacher has something that seems good to her or to him, and then they can use that tool that way.
That's awesome. How does Addi help teachers intentionally select grammar and word features for the week?
Yeah, so that's another core feature, is sometimes teachers don't necessarily have a specific language focus for each week. They maybe have something that they're doing in language arts, and then they go on to content areas because there's so much to cover. And so here, if teachers would like, they could say, hey, this is what I'm teaching. Can you give me, a language feature I could use throughout to help enforce and improve the three goals of DLI, right? So we're specifically looking at biliteracy and bilingualism here, helping them then be like, okay, if I'm teaching this in science, this in PE, this in music, how can I actually connect language all throughout, to help my students learn the language as well as the content? And that would obviously take a lot of effort for someone to sit down and think about it, figure it out. And so Addy is a quick way to get kind of those language features, language targets to kind of help you focus and connect all your content areas for a week to help improve language proficiency.
Can you give us an example of how a DLI teacher might use Addi? So you said that they could weave it into their content areas like math, science, social studies, language arts. So what's an example of what Addi can do?
Yeah. So, for example, I could go to Addie and kind of tell her my situation. So I could say, I'm a second grade DLI teacher. My language is Spanish or French or whatever my language is. And then kind of lay out my week. So maybe say, in science, we're learning about the process of the water cycle. And in music, we're focusing on French authors, whatever we're doing, and just kind of explain my week. And then Addie would give me some output that says, hey, it'd be a really great idea for second graders to focus on, who knows, adjective endings, and then give me examples. This is how you could do it in your science lesson. This is how you could do it in your PE lesson, even, and in your music lesson, whatever I'm teaching, and then just giving me examples and activities. If I've done this for a while and I'm already, I already know maybe as a teacher, oh, I'm going to teach these language features and these content areas, but maybe I just want to freshen up what I'm teaching. I could also say, hey, I've always taught it this way. Could you give me 5 other ideas of other ways to teach it? And it could give me 5 new ideas, because sometimes we get stuck in a rut and we're tired, real life. And so it can also help us with those things too. So I could say, this is how I've always done it. Give me 5 new ideas. And then from there, you can go as the expert teacher and say, okay, I don't like this one, but this one's really great. I'm going to tweak it a little, and that'll work for my class. Because obviously, as the teacher, you know your students best. So kind of using it as a partner. I think you already said that. Um,
Yeah. Addie is smart. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How does she know? Do you tell her your grade level, your language? How does she know what to give you?
Yeah, so it's very interactive. So if anyone who's used her or goes to try to use her, will see it's very interactive. You can say as much as you want, but before she gives you an answer, she'll ask as many questions as she needs to be able to give you a good answer. A lot of obviously AI tools like to spit out answers as fast as they can. We've tried to make sure that Addy is a good teaching partner, especially for dual language immersion teachers. So if you're stressed, like, I don't know what to tell her, like, no stress. Like, if you don't tell her what she needs, or if you don't tell the bot what it needs, you'll get plenty of follow-up questions.
You mentioned Spanish and French. What other languages can Addie understand and give resources?
Yeah. So she can really do any language. We first trained her in Spanish, and that's where the most up-to-date content is. But we've also trained her to do basically any language. So any teacher can go in and say, this is the language I teach. And what's really cool too is, say my kids go to a French school. So say I'm one of the French teachers and I only speak French. I could just type in French, or my colleagues down the road who teach Spanish, they could just type it all in Spanish. So if you don't know English, that's not a problem either. You can just communicate with the bot in your native language and the bot will catch on, which is really incredible.
That's amazing. What feedback from educators has most influenced Addie's development so far? And how is that shaping where Addalingua is taking the platform next?
Yeah, great question. I think so I've taught a few courses obviously for Addalingua, but then Addalingua has been around for almost 20 years, and a lot of the questions that we receive are, what do I do in my day-to-day classroom? I understand the theory, these examples are great, but it takes thought work to translate that into your personal classroom, because you have a unique set of students, every school is different. And so it does take that work of, how do I translate, the Addalingua approach into my real life right now? And so we wanted a tool to really empower teachers to say, I understand the Addalingua approach. I understand what good teaching looks like. Like, give me the activity, give me the mini lesson. Like, I'm tired, or I've done it this way for 20 years. Give me something new. And so to help them have a thought partner in being a good dual language immersion teacher.
Well, we're so excited for you all to get into the Addalingua platform and use Addie. We're always here if you have any questions. And thank you, Jessica, for all your work on Addie. We've loved seeing all the work that she does to help dual language immersion teachers do their job well and a little easier. So thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks so much.